Good morning, good people of YouTube. Been a little while since we've done one of these morning interviews in this office. Congratulations. The music business is dead. Last night on the evening news here in Detroit, they played Eminem, the rapper Eminem, the white rapper Eminem, did a freestyle rap, and I don't have any fucking coffee, so I'm gonna have to double down on the cigarettes. He did a freestyle rap, and it was very anti-Trump and all that kind of stuff, which is, whatever. It's interesting because I've been watching, especially the last several months, and since the new quarter has started, I've seen several artists. Nikki Sixx has a YouTube channel called 6 Cents, and he's doing interviews with some pretty heavy artists. I'm looking at an interview right now that he's doing with Steve.
Nikki Sixx, 6 Cents. Jen's here. What's up, Jen?
Hi, Nikki.
He's doing an interview with Steve Vai on the latest one, and I don't know whether this is it looks like a radio show, but I don't know if it's an actual radio show or not. But like I said, Eminem did this freestyle rap, rapping against Trump. He's been doing this for months. He's been doing this since Trump's been in office. The only thing is he's been touring in Europe. And I watched a little bit of his one of the tours in Reading, and in that concert he asked or not him, but the other guy that's up on stage doing their thing, asked how many people have the Slim Shady LP, how many people have the Marshall Mathers LP, and this is all an attempt to get people to buy some fucking records, and the truth of the matter is, for the people in the music business that have been established for years and years, if they want to continue to make money, they got to tour. That's because people do not buy records anymore. Not with, iTunes. Yeah, it was great for a little while, wasn't it, guys? But it's kind of faded off now. Why should people, especially kids, remember when you were a kid growing up, or maybe you're 16, 17 years old right now, why would you go out and buy a record when you don't have to? When you have places like YouTube where you can listen to any song you fucking want to listen to for free, whenever you feel like it. Entire albums in their entirety. When I was that age, we didn't have the internet. We bought records, and we saved up enough money to buy a record. They were $10, $12. In the 90s, there were people out there who realized that records were going to be going away, so they raised the prices of their records. Axl Rose, perfect example of somebody who raised the price of his records. And I believe he did that recognizing that, there will soon be no more record sales. So that's where we're at today. You record an album, you can pretty much count on not getting anything back on that investment. Where you're going to make your money is in touring and merchandising, which is a lot of money to be made there. But, the bread and butter of it was the records, It was always going to be that income. It's kind of like when you retire and you have an investment plan where, say, you're 60% bonds, 40% stock market. You keep your 60% of your money in bonds because no matter what happens, you're going to always have that money. Even though that money's not growing, especially right now and in the past several years, at least if the stock market, if it crashes, you're always going to retain 60% of your income. You know, the other 40%, you risk a little bit more. I mean, you know, obviously if you're currently retired, you're going to have your stock market investments very conservative, you know, so even if there is a crash, you know, you won't completely lose your ass. And even people who are saving for retirement are going more conservative than they used to. Anyway, I don't know where that came from. I guess it all ties together. But I'm noticing artists doing different things now in order to, you know, keep that money coming in. People like Nikki Sixx, like Eminem, I would hope that these guys have enough money that, you know, they don't have to worry about bringing an income, bringing more money in. I'll tell you what, if I'm Nikki Sixx, if I'm Eminem, if I'm Ozzy Osbourne, and I don't have enough money saved in the bank to quit today, I did something wrong. Or I didn't weed out the people who were robbing me. So, anyhow, last night on the evening news, they played Eminem's, you know, fuck Trump thing, which is great, you know. I mean, I don't necessarily disagree with all the things he had to say in his rap, but I also understand that, you know, I wonder how much he believes of what he's saying, you know, because I understand what he's doing. I understand his intent. His intent is to offend people, to spike people's curiosities so they show up at his tour, which will be coming to the United States here, you know, relatively quickly. I think, unless it's already even started, I don't know. And, you know, a lot of bands, this is where it's at. You have to somehow get out there. In a lot of ways, it hasn't changed at all, because back in the 80s and 90s, you know, bands went out and offend everyone. There is no bad publicity, because the people that you piss off are curious enough to show up at the tour and pay for a ticket. Guns N' Roses was, this is back in the 90s, late 80s, was charging $150 per ticket. That was unheard of at the time. You know, the first 5, 6, maybe I'd even go as far to say the first 10 Ozzy shows I saw, I don't think I paid over $25 a ticket, and I was on main floor up front. And, you know, Guns N' Roses came out, and they were the first band where the first show I went to, the first Guns N' Roses show I went to, I paid $125 for tickets, and I wasn't even on the main floor. I was back. So there's money to be made in touring. Kid Rock, it was either a year or 2 years ago, he did a tour, and I don't know whether it was to make a point or whatever, but he did a tour where all tickets were $20. It was random. You go up, you buy your tickets, it's $20 for everybody. You might get front row, front and center main floor, you might get way in the back, doesn't matter. His whole point was, when I charge $20 a ticket, I'm going to sell out the place, which he's going to sell out anyway. But, like he said, he's still making plenty of money with a ticket price at that rate, okay? So when you have bands like Guns N' Roses charging what nowadays, I mean, I can't even imagine it's less than $200 a ticket. But back in the late 80s, in early 90s, bands like Guns N' Roses charging $125 a ticket. I mean, these guys were rolling in the cash, not to mention their albums. You know, people did want to there's people out there who dismiss albums and publishing royalties, okay? People will tell you, oh, well, the artists never get royalties off the albums. Bullshit. You know, because you get, if you're a smart artist, even a little tiny artist like myself, no matter what you do, you always keep your publishing, no matter what. So that means any time that the song you played on or a song you wrote is recorded or used for whatever reason, you get a piece of it. Okay? Now there's other businesses like producers of music, of studios, where most of the producers out there take a cut of the royalties off an album, which I never understood why they took a cut for the rest of their life. You know, it's like, you're a producer, you know, and I'm not knocking producers. You guys are absolutely amazing, and if it wasn't for you guys, you know, people like me wouldn't sound so great on an album. So I'm not knocking producers. I just I never understood, especially when there's people out there like Steve Albini, who, you know, people would come into the studio and he would charge them a rate for the studio and not take a cut of royalty cut of any sort, you know. And his theory was like, okay, well, he goes, if I build you a house, you pay for me to build your house. I don't come back 25 years later and say, oh, the house is still standing. Well, I think I should get a cut for that, you know. I understand that. So, you know, Steve Albini works like a plumber, you know, and he gets paid for his work and he's happy with that. Most studio producers are not like that. They take some kind of cut. And I don't know about these days. I'm talking about back in the day, back when I was a kid in the 80s and early 90s. You know, that's the way producers worked. You know, they took a royalty from you for the rest of their lives. So there's a lot of money in the music business, but unfortunately the record business is dead. And like I said, even iTunes was great for a little while, but I've got to imagine these guys who want to continue to make money, you know, I know a lot of them say, well, it's about the fans, and I get it, you know, to an extent, but, you know, at the end of the day, it's about, you know, money, you know, I mean, because if you work, no matter what I do, when I'm working, if I'm playing guitar, or I'm doing vocals, or I am out there digging a hole with a shovel, no matter what type of work I'm doing, I expect to be paid, just like anybody else. So if I'm on a gigantic tour, I expect to be paid for my work in that tour, whether I'm the guy setting the stage up or whether I'm the guy on stage playing guitar or, you know, whatever. Everybody needs to get paid. We have to support our families, man. We have everybody, you know, we all have goals, we all have families and kids and blah, blah, blah. So everybody needs to get paid. And, you know, a lot of these older artists who want to continue to make money realize that the only way to continue to make money is to
You look good today.
Oh, thanks.
Steve Vai is here with us.
continue to make money. I turn it on and off because this computer here likes to go to sleep from time to time, and then I have to restart it and put the password in and blah blah blah. So anyway, artists that want to, you know, continue to make money realize they need to tour in order to do that. So that's what they're doing, and that's what people like Eminem are doing when he, you know, does a freestyle rap bashing the president. You know, yeah, there's no doubt in my mind that he believes in a lot of what he's saying, but there's also no doubt in my mind that, you know, the whole point of it is to draw up attention to him so that when he releases his ticket sales, if he hasn't already, people are going to come to the show, you know, and that's just the way it is. I would, there's so many, you know, I'm 42 years old, and in so many ways I'm so glad to be 42, not just because of, you know, people always say, what was the best time of your life? I mean, for me, I mean, it's every year, you know, every year I grow older is really the best time, because it's like, I don't know, as I get older, I feel more comfortable in my shell. I'll tell you what, people tell you that, you know, the greatest time of your life is high school. And I'll tell you what, man, I never told my kids that, and I refuse to tell my kids that, because if that's as good as it gets, that's some depressing shit. You know, when my life really started to get good was probably my late 20s. You know, and it was because I finally figured out who and what I was, and really kind of figured out what direction I wanted to go in or stay in or change or whatever, and I was young enough to change it if I wanted to. And now, you know, at 40 years old, you know, I'm just as happy as I was back then. It's, you know, there's a certain amount of stability that comes with age. You know, there's a lot of other things that come with age that are not so great, like pain and, you know, physical pain and things that your body just doesn't recover the way it once did from injuries and things like that. So the trade-off is that the stability in life, and I guess what I'm getting at is, as much as sometimes I would like to go back to those days when I was 18, 20 years old, whatever. I wouldn't want to do it today, musically, because at least back then, if you had a record that went to number one, you had record sales. You had money for. Usually, your record sales money got robbed away from you anyway. Somehow, whoever signed you figured out a way that the budget exceeded what they put into it, or exceeded, the budget for the record. It has exceeded the sales of the album, so they ended up keeping all your money anyway. But as time went on, that would change, because years and years later, people were still buying your records 10 years later, so you were getting that money. So, but the touring money was, what you lived on. I mean, there's a lot of money in touring, man. Just in merchandising, the T-shirts, the keychains, the hats, the whatever, the panties. Sharon Osbourne sold women's panties, Ozzy Osbourne women's panties. I mean, people buy this. I mean, the amount of cash. And that's where people talk about things like money laundering and stuff like that, because that is all cash. A story I heard about Elvis Presley one time was Elvis Presley, the Colonel, and Jerry Weintraub. When Jerry Weintraub took Elvis Presley on tour, Jerry Weintraub told a story about how the Colonel came. He had 2 suitcases, and they went in the back room, locked the door, and there was a table there, and he emptied the suitcases out on the table, and there was a pile of cash. Literally, a gigantic pile of cash emptied out from the 2 suitcases. And Jerry said, "What is this?" And he said, "Well, that's from the concessions." And Jerry said, "Well, I have the tour. I don't have anything to do with that." And the Colonel Parker told him, "No, everything me and Elvis do with somebody, we do it 50-50. And he said he took his cane and he smacked it right in the middle, and he swiped that way and he swiped that way, and he said, "That's mine, that's yours, are we good?" And Jerry Weintraub said when he finished that tour, he was a multi-millionaire. One tour with Elvis Presley. So, don't ever kid yourself by thinking there's not money in touring. So yeah. So that's what I'm thinking about this morning. This thing came out, Eminem, with his Fuck Trump song or freestyle rap or whatever he did. I guess this video is just, okay, if you agree with all of that, that's fine, but understand that there's a bigger message here. And maybe I'm trying to understand it too, because I'd still like to make some money in the music business. Matter of fact, I got to make a phone call this morning to see what's up with this guy, but I'm just noticing a lot of changes. I know I'm noticing older artists, well-established artists going in new directions, and I recognize it as that's how they're earning cash now. So, anyhow, that's all I wanted to say. I just wanted to say hello to you guys. I know it's been a little while since I've done one of these videos. Been busy trying to winterize my boat, trying to clean my teak deck. Anybody out there who knows of a product that cleans teak, please put it down there in the comments. Let me know about it, because I'm cleaning my teak deck on my boat is absolutely dirty. It's not only dirty, I put some bad teak oil on it, some cheap teak oil on it, and it came back to bite me in the ass. So I'm trying to scrub out all the oil and the dirt and all that stuff. Yesterday I used some crud cutter and on a small piece of teak, and it seemed to clean it and brighten it quite a bit. So we'll see how that goes today. But if anybody has any recommendations as to teak wood cleaning products, put them down there in the comments. Alright guys, hope everybody's doing well, and I will see you soon.